Hi everyone, it's Lara here from LK Yoga, and today we're going to focus on a balancing flow. So we're going to start today lying on the mat. The only prop you may need is block or equivalent, but other than that you should be okay. Would strongly advise having something to use whilst you're practicing your balancing poses today. So try and grab hold of a block, a Tupperware pot, a thick book. Even having a chair nearby so you can use that for balance would be great. So as I said, starting class lying on our mats. We're just going to come into a full body stretch. So we take the arms up overhead, interlace the fingers, press the palms away. Nice deep inhale, getting some air into the body. And then exhaling, just letting the arms come down the sides and just letting the palms face up. Taking the shoulders to be nice and broad and just taking a moment to rest here. Try and settle into your breath as best you can. Starting to lengthen the inhales and the exhales. And just watching the rise and fall of the chest with the breath. Trying to let go of the day so far and just leaving it outside your place of practice. And just taking the next 45 minutes to focus in on you. And from here we're going to draw the left knee into the chest. Just wrap the fingers around it and gently rock it left and right. Trying to keep the rest of the body nice and relaxed. And then we're going to extend the left leg out at the same time, taking the arms overhead and briefly hover the leg over the mat. Try and grow long, keep the belly drawing down, and then gently set yourself down and just feel how the left leg feels in relation to the right. Then drawing the right knee in, maybe interlacing one finger over, just gently rocking the leg left and right again. Trying to keep the shoulders relaxed and broad. And then taking the arms overhead, extending the right leg and just briefly holding above the mat and gently setting down. This time we squeeze both knees in, draw the forehead in to meet the knees and gently rock your way up towards seated. Just taking a moment here for a twist. We're going to take the left hand to the outside of the right knee, right hand comes behind. Inhaling, growing tall, and exhaling, see if you can twist a little bit deeper. Coming back through center, right hand comes to the outside of the left knee, left hand comes behind. Inhaling, growing tall, and twisting the other way. And then coming back towards center, just doing a couple of shoulder rolls in either direction, just making sure we're a little bit looser and free to move there, reversing the direction if you haven't already. And then from here, coming into our tabletop position. So we're going to take the hands more or less under the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips here. We're just going to try and make ourselves feel nice and balanced at first, make sure the weight feels even between either hand and between the knees, trying to keep the back straight, drawing the belly button into the spine. From here, taking a few rounds of cat-cow, so we're going to round up through the back, draw the chin in towards the chest. And then exhaling, rippling through, gazing towards the top of your mat. So just in your own time with the breath, just moving between these two positions. Trying to keep everything nice and fluid. You want to have a bit of a freestyle as you're doing this, that's absolutely fine. Making the practice your own and just doing what feels good for you. Just a couple more repetitions, and then when you're ready, we'll meet back with a neutral spine. So our first balancing pose, we're going to extend the left arm out in front of us and the right leg behind. So this is something we've done before. We really focus on trying to keep the hips level. I'm going to draw the left arm out to the left and the right leg out to the right. Try and reach and extend a bit further. Come back towards the center, round and squeeze, elbow to knee. And then extending back out, coming back to the diagonal, back into the center, rounding, squeezing one more time, and then gently setting down. Coming over to the other side, extending the right arm and the left leg, coming out towards the diagonal, briefly holding there. Then back towards the center line. Knee meets elbow, rounding, squeezing. Extending back out. One more time over to that diagonal. And then back towards the center line. Knee to elbow, squeeze tight. And gently set down. From here, coming into our thread the needle. Left arm comes up nice and high, opening through the chest. Then exhaling, taking the arm underneath you. Just resting the left shoulder on the mat here. Option to tuck the toes on the right foot, that's the opposite foot. And perhaps extend the right arm overhead and walk it over towards the left if that feels good for you. Try to breathe deeply, particularly in these slightly more binded or strenuous positions. And then taking the right hand back, drawing the right knee down. Inhaling, lifting the left arm up to the ceiling, and exhaling, setting it back on the mat. Coming over to the other side, inhaling, lifting the right arm nice and high, exhaling, threading it through underneath you. So we now got the option again, just to tuck the toes on the left foot, pressing the heel away, perhaps extending the left arm up overhead and walking the fingers over if that feels good for you. Breathing nice and deeply, even a pose like this has some element of balance in it. So just feeling the natural movement in the body. And just bringing some awareness to how you use your balance through most of the poses within your yoga practice. Drawing the left hand back in, left knee comes down. Inhaling, lifting the right arm back up towards the ceiling. And exhaling, setting it back down on the mat. From here, we're going to take a couple of chaturanga push-ups just to warm up through the upper body. So I'm going to draw the legs back very slightly. So we want to draw the torso straight across the hips and all the way down through the tops of the thighs. So we're going to press the hips forward slightly here to keep that long length position through the back of the body. We're going to lower ourselves to 90 degrees chaturanga and then press back up. We're just going to do this 5 times, so just lowering down, not coming past the 90-degree bend in our arms, building some strength in the upper body. So that's the 3rd time for me, just 2 more if you can. And then after this final 5th round, we're going to press our way back to downward facing dog. So we're going to lift the hips nice and high and have a pedal through the feet. Taking one heel down then the other, maybe giving the hips a bit of the twist, drawing one knee forward, then the other, whatever feels good for you. Bit of a freestyle, trying to spread the fingers nice and wide, and then we're going to slowly walk the feet in towards the hands here. Coming to a forward fold, taking ragdoll. Nice deep bend in the knees, holding on to opposite elbows and just trying to find the length down the back of the body all the way through the neck to the crown of the head. Gently rocking left and right. And then taking the hands down towards the toes. On the inhale, rolling up through the spine, stacking the shoulders. Circling the arms nice and wide, drawing the hands into prayer and exhaling, folding all the way back down. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift, straightening out through the back again, and exhaling, folding down. Inhaling, rolling up through the spine one more time, stacking the shoulders, circling the arms. This time drawing the hands into prayer. We're going to come into tree. So stay facing the front of your mat. I'm going to come just here so you can see what I'm doing. So to come into tree, we're going to lift the left leg to start. Just hover the foot off the ground and just have a little bit of a play with the balance in the right leg. So maybe draw the weight into the toes, then back into the heels, over to one side, then the other. Then we want to find a nice neutral fit. So I'm going to try and lift through the inner arch of the right foot here. And I'm going to take the left leg and just place it somewhere on the inside of the right. The hips face forward and the left leg comes out to the left. From here, you can draw the hands into prayer or perhaps take them up overhead. If you want an extra little balance challenge, then what we're going to do is try leaning over towards the left, maybe even taking hold gently of the outside of the right wrist. Just draw yourself a bit deeper. And be really, really careful with the balance as you come back to center. That's the most challenging bit. Well done. And then maybe over towards the other way this time. I'm just going to keep the fingers nice and wide. Coming back to center. Taking the hands to prayer and with control, gently stepping out of tree. Circling the arms overhead, exhaling, folding forward. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift. On the exhale, folding back down. Rolling up through the spine one more time, circling the arms. Drawing the hands into prayer. I'm going to take tree on the other side. So again, as we did, just hovering the right foot off the mat, having a little play with the balance in the left foot. And make sure the inner arch feels nice and lifted on the inside of the supporting foot. And then we're going to take the right leg and just gently place it somewhere that feels comfortable for you on the inside of the left leg. Try to grow tall in your balance, keeping the core engaged, to help you find a nice, comfortable position, nice and strong. I'm going to take the arms up overhead if that feels good, and then lean over towards the right, maybe taking the right wrist around the left, gently drawing yourself over. I have to hope I don't fall over today. Who knows, everyone falls over sometimes. And then maybe coming over towards the left. So just getting a little bit of length down the sides of the body here whilst testing our balance. Going back to center, taking the hands to prayer, and then stepping to the top of your mat, circling the arms once more, and exhaling, folding forward. On the inhale, finding a halfway lift, and then stepping back to a low lunge position. So I'm going to draw the left leg behind us. We're going to take the arms up overhead, sinking into the hips as best we can. Hands come straight into prayer. We're going to twist towards the right. Left elbow comes to the outside of the right knee here. Trying to stay long through the spine, up all the way through to the crown of the head. Twisting as deeply as we can, trying to feel active in our twist. So we're drawing that left side through and trying to twist the chest up towards the ceiling. From here, we're going to draw the right leg straight. So we're going to take the hands to either side of the front foot and just gently draw ourselves into our half split position. Trying to keep the right hip drawing back. Remember, you can take your block and just place the hands on the block as well if that feels more comfortable for you. So try and keep the chest drawing through, back straight. And then moving your block out the way, rolling onto the toes. Stepping back to a plank position. Gently lowering the knees down, chest comes all the way to the floor. Taking 3 rounds of cobra, hands in line with the shoulders. Inhaling, gently lifting to cobra. And then exhaling, lowering back down, taking one cheek to the mat, giving the hips a wiggle. On the next inhale, lifting the chest again to cobra. And then exhaling, lowering down, taking the opposite cheek to the mat, and giving the hips a wiggle. Third time, inhaling, lifting the chest. And then exhaling, lowering back down, finding your way back to downward facing dog. So just a moment in downward facing dog this time, still keeping a slight bend in the knees. Try and press evenly through the hands, trying to turn the inner elbows to face each other. And just step towards the top of the mat, coming into another little forward fold. On the inhale, we're going to roll up through the spine, stacking the shoulders. Circle the arms nice and wide, and this time, as we draw the hands into prayer, we're going to lift the left leg. So we're just going to lift the left leg, draw the knee in towards the chest, and then try extending the leg out in front of you. Try and keep the torso upright as you do this. It's really tempting to lean back. Try and stay as straight as you can. Drawing the knee back in, and then from here, taking the left hand around the outside of the left knee and drawing it out to the side. You can extend the right arm if you've got room. You can even extend the left leg, catching hold of the toes here. Coming back towards center, taking both hands back to prayer, lowering the leg down, coming straight over to the other side. So we're going to draw the right knee into the chest. We're going to extend the leg out in front of us, trying to stay standing tall, trying to stay lifted. Drawing the knee back into the chest, right hand comes around the edge of the right knee, and we draw it out to the side. I'm keeping my hand here in a half prayer, but you can extend it out to the side as well if you'd like to try. Perfectly up to you to choose what works for you. Drawing yourself back towards center, both hands come to prayer, stepping the right foot back, circling the arms nice and wide, exhaling, folding forward. On an inhale, finding a halfway lift, and this time stepping the right leg back, coming to our low lunge position. Taking the arms up overhead, sinking into the legs as best you can. Hands come into prayer. We're going to twist towards the right this time, left this time. Get there in the end. The twisting towards the left, gazing over the elbow if you can. Keeping the spine lovely and long. Toes on the front foot, nice and relaxed, but still feel the inner arch lift on the front left foot here. Then coming back towards center, taking the arms overhead, and then framing the front foot, drawing the left leg straight. So remember, you've always got the option of holding the block, trying to draw the left hip back here, keeping the chest lifted. You're still breathing nice and deeply. And then gently rolling onto the toes of the front foot, moving the block out the way. Hands frame the front foot, we step back to plank. Holding plank briefly, pressing the heels away, and then taking a vinyasa of your choice this time. So if you like, you can keep taking the knees down, or if you want, lowering to chaturanga, rolling through to upward facing dog, and exhaling back to downward facing dog. Nice deep breath in downward facing dog. See if you can lift the hips any higher, still keeping a bend in the knees, slowly working the heels down over time. On the inhale this time, lifting the left leg high. I'm going to briefly hold it up here and just feel the balance required to try and keep the chest twisting to face the mat so the pressure through either arm is equal. Stepping the left foot forward to the top of the mat. Coming into our Crescent Moon Lunge. So if you can, keep the back knee lifted here. Take the arms up overhead and really draw your hips forward, pressing the heel away on the back leg. Taking the hands to prayer, twisting towards the left. The right elbow comes to the outside of the left knee. I'm very good on this side today, am I? So what we want to do here is try and feel the balance in this pose. So the back right leg is trying to twist up towards the ceiling, pressing the heel away to help you find strength in the leg. We've got the core engaged, going along through the spine to help counterbalance in the other direction. From here, taking the arms back overhead, we're going to find our way into Warrior 3. So we're going to shorten the stance. I'm going to draw my left leg back just because I don't have much space ahead of me, but whichever way suits you. Drawing the hands to prayer, engaging through the core. And we're going to transfer the weight into the front leg and try and find our way to Warrior 3. So in Warrior 3, we want to keep a slight bend in the standing leg. We want to try and keep the hips level. If you want, you can try drawing the arms out to the side here as well. Maybe even taking them in front of you. And take the hands into prayer and gently step back into Crescent Moon Lunge. Arms frame the front foot, stepping back to a plank position. And this time lowering the knees down, chest comes all the way to the floor. We're going to move the block or any props out of the way and take the arms to 90 degrees on either side of you. Coming into some shoulder openers, taking the left ear down, extending the right arm and drawing the right leg up and over. Remember, it doesn't matter if you can't come all the way into this pose, just coming as deep as feels good for you. Now when you're ready, coming back towards center, over to the other side, right arm bends, right ear comes down, left arm extends, and left leg comes over. Hopefully you're getting the hang of this explanation now. It's always a tricky one to get your head around at first. And then coming back to center, hands come in line with the shoulders, inhaling, gently lifting to cobra, exhaling, lowering down, and finding your way back to downward facing dog. Lifting the hips nice and high, drawing the feet underneath you, trying to stay nice and active and energetic in your pose. On the inhale, lifting the right leg high, taking the heel up towards the ceiling, and again just briefly holding here, keeping the core strong. And then drawing the right knee into the chest and stepping forward. Coming into Crescent Moon Lunge on the other side, taking the arms up and overhead. Trying to draw the hips underneath you, keeping the core engaged and pressing the heel on the back leg away. Finding the twist, hand comes to prayer. And a twist towards the right, left elbow comes to the outside of the right knee. Trying to keep the inner arch of the right foot active underneath you. Holding here for a moment, trying to draw the chest through. The left leg is also twisting around, internally rotating slightly here. Taking the arms back overhead and then shortening the stance again. So I'm going to draw my front foot back so I have plenty of space ahead of me. I'm going to draw my hands into prayer and transfer the weight into the front foot, coming into Warrior 3 on the other side. Trying to keep the lift through the bottom leg, a slight bend in the standing knee here, just so you can let the lower leg wiggle around, building strength in all the supporting muscles. And then gently stepping back to Crescent Moon Lunge, taking the arms up overhead. Hands frame the front foot, stepping back to a plank, and taking a vinyasa of your choice. Always option to lower to 90, roll through to upward facing dog, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Nice deep breath here, going straight into the next flow, trying to build a bit of strength and a bit of endurance in your practice. On the inhale, lifting the left leg high, option to bend and open. The knee comes up towards the ceiling and the heel comes down towards the bum. Stepping the left foot through to the top of the mat, coming into Warrior Two this time. Opening up into Warrior Two. I'm just going to turn around so you can see me. So remember, the right foot crosses the center line and the left foot is facing forward. Trying to keep ourselves nice and upright at first, twisted towards the side of the mat. Turning the front palm, leaning forward to reverse the warrior. And exhaling, coming into extended side angle, reaching out through the top fingers, pressing through the outside edge of the back foot. From here, coming into Warrior Two one more time, and then into triangle. So we're going to step the back foot in, try and draw both legs straight and then fold forward. Remember, you can take your hand to block here, or you can just gently press the left hand into the leg, or even hold on to the leg, yogi's choice. To test the balance, you can look up towards the top hand. From here, we come into half moon. Now, you can practice this pose without a block, but today I'd like you to try it with a block because we're going to put another transition in it. So we're going to take the block out in front of us. We're going to transfer the weight onto the front leg. We're going to try and stack the left shoulder over the left hand and the block. Right hip comes over the left. Trying to lift the back leg as high as you can. From here, we're going to transition to Warrior Three. So we're going to slowly draw the right hip down so it's parallel with the left. Take both hands to the block. Make sure the core is still nice and engaged. Take the hands into prayer. Try and stay balanced if you can. Taking the hands back down to the block. And then the most tricky part, stack yourself back into half moon here. When you're ready, coming back into Warrior Two, great work. Don't worry if you don't want to try the balancing poses. Always fun to have a go, but you can just hold triangle or the pose before if you like. Taking the hands to frame the front foot, stepping back to a plank position, lowering the knees down this time, chest comes all the way to the floor. Hands in line with the shoulders, inhaling, gently lifting to cobra, exhaling, lowering down. Finding your way into child's pose. So it's going to take a moment in child's pose, drawing the forehead to the mat. You can take the knees wide or keep them together. Walking the hands over towards the left, stretching out down the right hand side of the body here. Trying to really anchor the right hip down. And then coming back towards center over to the other side. So walking the hands over to the right, stretching all the way down the left hand side of the body, from the hip to the tips of the fingers. And then coming back towards center and pressing into your downward facing dog, lifting the hips high. Taking a moment to breathe in downward facing dog. Can you lift the hips any higher? And then on the inhale, this time we'll lift the right leg up towards the ceiling. Option to bend and open, knee comes up to the sky. Trying to keep shoulders level. Stepping the right foot through to the top of the mat, coming into Warrior Two on the other side. I'm going to twist around so you can see me. Gazing out over the front hand. And then when you're ready, just gently leaning forward to reverse the warrior. Right arm comes up overhead. And then exhaling, coming forward to extended side angle, reaching out through the fingertips on the left arm, pressing through the outside edge of the back foot. From here, coming back into Warrior Two. From Warrior Two, shortening the stance into triangle and folding over the front leg. Trying to gaze up towards the top hand for the extra balance challenge, or otherwise looking down towards the foot in front of you is fine as well. Having a go at half moon on this side. So again, we want to take hold of our block, place it about a foot in front of us and transfer the weight onto the front foot. Trying to lift the back leg up behind you. From here, coming into Warrior Three if you'd like to try. So we're going to draw both hands to the block. We're going to take the left hip down so it's parallel with the right. Try and keep the leg lifted if you can. Draw the hands briefly into prayer, lifting into Warrior Three. And then taking the hands back down to the block and coming back into half moon if you can. Great work, everyone. Stepping back to Warrior Two when you're ready, moving any blocks out the way. And then taking the hands to frame the front foot. Taking a vinyasa of your choice, so always option to lower to 90. Rolling through to upward facing dog. And exhaling back to downward facing dog. From here, drawing the knees down. And coming into a kneeling pose to start. So we're going to come into hero now. So I'm just going to twist to face you. So as you come into hero, we're going to try and keep the knees together. I'm going to draw the feet so that the inner edge of the foot faces out. We're just going to give us some internal rotation through the hips and stretch the front of our quads, the tops of our legs. So the first way I'd like you to try this is with a block, particularly if you think you might be tight in this position. So I'm going to keep the knees together, I'm going to take the weight forward and then come to the outside edge of my feet sitting back on the block. We're going to be in this pose for a while today, so I advise you don't come as deep as you might potentially do if you're only here for a moment or so. The other option is to take the block out underneath you and come all the way to sit on the mat. If you think this is going to be too intense, then just take the block back in. I'm going to sit on the block today as I feel like I'd like to focus on just a light opening sensation across the hips and focus on our arms. So we're going to come into eagle arms now. So we're going to take the arms up overhead. You can also come into a kneeling or seated position if this is already feeling uncomfortable. I'm going to take the left arm underneath the right. If you can, interlacing the hands and drawing the elbows nice and high. If you can't interlace the hands, you can just take the backs of the hands to touch each other, or maybe even lift the elbows high, holding onto the shoulders here. So whichever variation of the pose works for you, I'm going to lift the arms high and just gently press the hands away. Just holding for a moment, trying to keep the core just gently engaged, drawing the shoulders back. I'm going to take the arms wide, opening up across the chest, and then drawing the arms back overhead. This time, right arm comes underneath the left. If you can, interlacing the hands again, or your variation of the pose, lifting the arms nice and high, pressing the palms away, drawing the shoulders back and down. Trying to keep it long through the back here. Breathing deeply, just holding for a moment, keeping the shoulders down. And then opening out nice and wide across the chest. And this time taking the hands behind the back, interlacing the fingers, squeezing the shoulders together. From here, we're going to come onto our knees, just gently lifting the feet. Can be a little bit uncomfortable, give them a wiggle. Taking the block out from underneath you. And from here, coming back to downward facing dog. As you come back to downward facing dog, maybe just giving one leg a little shake, then the other, before pressing back into the pose. From here, we're going to walk our feet in towards our hands, coming to a brief little forward fold at the top of the mat. Folding the forehead in to meet the knees. Then on the inhale, rolling up through the spine, stacking the shoulders. Circling the arms nice and wide, lifting the chest. And we take the hands to face in this time, reaching the fingers out, keeping the shoulders engaged, coming into a chair pose. So we're going to sink the bum back here, keep the chest lifted, and try and draw the heels down, draw the bum down, breathing deep, taking the hands to prayer and gently standing back up. So we're going to have a go at a full eagle pose now, so I'm just going to twist to face you. So we can have a go at the leg bind as well. If you'd rather just come into chair or to stay standing, that's fine too. So take the arms up overhead like we did in hero. We're going to take the left arm down and the right arm on top. Interlacing the hands, lifting the elbows high and gently pressing the hands away. From here, the left arm's underneath, so I'm going to lift the right leg. I'm going to take the right leg to sit on top of the knee and gently try and wrap the leg around to the back of the left leg. So the right foot is going to press into the back of the left calf here. If you can't wrap the foot, don't worry, just doing your best. Trying to sink down as best you can, keeping the core engaged and the upper body lifted. Trying to keep the hips facing forward. And then we're going to extend the arms out to the side and find our way back to a standing position. Taking the arms back overhead. This time right arm comes down first, left arm on top, interlacing the hands or your equivalent. Lifting the arms high so the elbows in line with your gaze, pressing the palms away. From here, taking the left leg and just threading it over the top and trying to sink your way down. Don't worry if you have a little moment where you can't balance or you can't quite get the foot behind. Just coming into the pose in any way that works for you. Just trying to hold here for a moment or so, sinking as deep as you possibly can. And then gently coming back up a little bit, taking the arms wide again and releasing the legs. Taking the hands behind the back, interlacing the fingers, squeezing the shoulders to lift them up. And then circling the arms nice and wide, drawing the hands into prayer, exhaling, folding forward. So we're going to take a variation on our forward fold now. So you can take the hands to a block, take two-piece fingers to the big toes, maybe hands under the feet, or hands on the mat. Then we're going to take the right foot and draw it to the outside edge of the left foot here. So I've got my legs in a little twisting position. I'm going to rest my hands on the block and keep my back relatively straight, trying to draw the hips back and equal. You can round in here too, drawing the forehead to meet the knee if you'd like. Just holding for a moment. And I'm going to switch over sides. I'm going to take the right foot to the centre of the mat, the left foot comes behind. We're going to draw the hips back as best we can, keep the chest lifted, drawing through. Nice deep breaths here. And from here, going to a seated pose. So we're going to take the left leg back, draw the knee down, and come to seated. Or finding seated in any way that works for you. So the next thing we're going to do is find a little twist again. I'm going to have a go at log stack with the legs if that feels good for you. If whilst in a seated position your knees are up really high, then perhaps just sit on the block and stay seated. You can try the log stack position, but if you do find that you're quite tight across the hips, just use a block as well to have a go, but seated is perfectly fine. So we're going to take the right shin to be parallel to the edge of the mat, and then take the left leg on top. So my left foot sits on top of the right knee, and my left knee sits on top of the right foot. Taking the arms up overhead, lifting the chest, and then the left hand comes to the outside of the right knee, right hand comes behind. Inhaling, growing tall, and exhaling, twisting, gazing over the right shoulder here. Just breathing deeply. And then coming back towards centre, right hand comes to the outside of the left knee, left hand comes behind. Inhaling, growing tall, and exhaling, trying to find the twist. And then coming back towards centre. From here, releasing the legs, we're going to come into boat pose. Yes, that is a balance too. So you're going to do a little bit of core work, not too much today though. So we'll take the arms to face up. We're going to draw the shoulders in, lift the chest, and then draw the shins to be in line with the arms if we can. We're going to briefly come down to low boat and just hold for a moment there. And then lift our way up into our modified boat. Maybe try briefly extending the legs, keeping the chest drawn through. Then drawing the knees in and drawing the chest through with the elbows, just hugging the knees. There's a little rest here. So the next pose we're going to have a go at is like a wide boat, but we're going to hold on to our feet. This is a really tricky pose. I certainly am not very good at it myself, but it's always fun to have a go at these things. So what we're going to do is hold onto the outside of our feet. Traditionally, you use two-piece fingers around the big toe for this pose, so you're welcome to do that if that works for you. Personally, I just find this a little bit uncomfortable, so I just hold onto the outside of my feet instead, but that's up to you. I'm going to try and draw the chest up and just lean back ever so slightly whilst keeping the back as straight as we can, and just lift our feet off the mat to start. From here, we're going to try and take the legs wide whilst holding onto the feet and try to stay upright. The worst thing that happens is we roll backwards here. I'm going to try and draw the chest through in this pose and straighten the legs. So it's really, really tricky. You're kind of fighting the rounding of the back and your balance, so well done. We're going to draw the feet towards centre, coming into a boat. If you can, briefly let go of the feet, and then coming down. Just finding a brief bound angle, lifting the chest, and folding forward just slightly for a moment. So no more hard work left. So just enjoying, hopefully you've enjoyed the practice anyway, but just enjoying these final slow poses. So we're going to take the legs nice and wide now into wide angle. Wide angle forward fold even. I'm going to sit on a block, something I always like to do, just to lift my hips up a bit higher, just feels better for me, so it's up to you if you want to come to a block or if you want to stay sat on the mat. Take the legs nice and wide, arms come up overhead, and then exhaling, folding forward, keeping the chest drawing through back nice and straight. walking the fingertips out in front of you, and as you exhale, you can round through the back and draw the head down if that feels good for you. If not, you can keep the chest lifted and the back straight. Whatever works better for you is absolutely fine. Just taking a moment or so here. Using the exhale to try and relax any tension you might be finding in the legs. And just trying to keep a slight micro bend beneath the knee here. And then slowly, when you're ready, walking the hands back in, removing the block underneath you. And from here, you're going to lie on the mat. So we come into a bridge pose. And today we've got an opportunity to try one-legged bridge. So you want the heels to be about hand and wrist distance away from the bum. You can take the hands to hold onto the outside of the mat, or you can draw your hands underneath you and interlace them as we lift if that suits you. So you're going to press into the heels, lift the hips, draw the chest up too, walk the shoulders underneath you, either hold onto the edge of the mat or interlace the hands under you. You can come to the tiptoes and hold here if that feels enough. If you want to have a go at one-legged bridge, we're going to walk the right foot towards the centre of the mat. I'm going to draw the left knee into the chest and extend the leg up overhead. Trying to keep the hips level, still lifting them and lifting the chest. Drawing the knee back in and gently setting the leg down. Releasing the hands and tucking the shoulders, rolling all the way back down. Just letting the hips rock side to side for a moment here. And then coming back towards centre. So we're going to press into the heels and roll up through the spine, stacking the shoulders underneath you one more time. If you want to, interlace the hands, maybe even one finger over. This time we're going to lift the left leg, we did the right leg first. So we're going to lift the right leg this time, drawing the left leg towards centre. Right knee comes into the chest, extending the leg up overhead, trying to keep the hips nice and level. Holding for a moment, can you lift any higher, and then gently setting the leg down. Releasing the hands and the shoulders, rolling all the way back to the mat. Taking the hands to the outside of the knees, catching hold of the outside of the feet, and just lifting the heels up towards the ceiling, rocking left and right in happy baby just for a moment here. Trying to keep the shoulders relaxed down, the muscles in the face relaxed, and just coming back to your breath. Making sure it's nice and deep and rhythmic. And then releasing the feet and coming back down to the mat. So you can either come into recline pigeon from here, taking the right foot to rest on the outside of the left knee. Or if you want to come into full pigeon, we're just going to find our way back to downward facing dog. Remember, this is just an option. So we're going to lift the hips nice and high. We're going to tuck the feet underneath us and bend the knees, pressing the hips back. On the inhale, we're going to lift the right leg high and then draw the right shin to the top of the mat, coming into pigeon. So I'm going to draw the left knee back to help me lift through the chest, and then we come down onto the arms and just sink into our pigeon pose. So we want to try and find any variation that works for you. So you might want to come all the way down to the mat, stay on the forearms or perhaps even on the hands, or maybe using a block to give you an alternative height here, for example, just like this. So whatever works for you today. If you're in reclined pigeon, remember you can draw the hands through to the back of the hamstring, trying to keep the shoulders nice and wide and relaxed on the mat. Just holding for a couple of breaths here. And you're ready, coming out the pose and over to the other side. So we're just going to press into the hands, lift the right leg behind you, give the leg a little bit of a wiggle, lifting the hips high. On the inhale, the left leg comes up. We're going to draw the shin to the top of the mat here. We're going to sink the hips down. Trying to keep the chest lifted if you can. And then coming down onto the forearms and just taking a moment here, sinking into the hips. So remember, if you're in reclined pigeon, you just need to switch the legs over to the other side. And don't expect that you necessarily feel the same on one side as the other. You can always tend to find it be a little bit tighter on one side. That's perfectly normal. So just working with what feels good on this side. Just a few more moments here. And then slowly coming back to the hands, drawing the left bum cheek down and swinging the legs in front of you. If you're in full pigeon, if you're in reclined pigeon, just lying down on the mat. I'm going to come into a full body stretch. So I'm going to take the arms up overhead, interlace the fingers, press the palms away, press the heels away. Nice deep breathing here. On the exhale, just let the arms come down the sides of the body. So taking our recline twists to finish, we're going to have some options here. So we're going to draw the left knee into the chest. The right hand comes to the outside of the left knee. If this feels enough, you can just draw the leg over as we normally do. If you want to try a little bind in the legs, a bit like eagle, we're going to draw the right foot up underneath us. We're going to come onto the right bum cheek, and we're going to draw the legs across the body. You can draw the knees a little bit higher if you want in either pose. And then if you want to come a little deeper too, you can just try and wrap the legs into a bind position. Kind of breathing deeply, opening across the chest, gazing over towards the left hand, if that feels good for you. And then slowly coming back towards centre and over to the other side. So we're going to come over towards the right. We're going to extend the left leg, draw the right knee into the chest, left hand comes to the outside of the right knee. We're going to draw the hips underneath us, and then take the right arm to balance us. I'm going to take the left leg up. I'm going to draw the legs over like we did on the other side. You draw the knees up a little bit if that feels good for you. Then if you want to bind, you're just going to draw the bottom leg just up and through to catch hold of the top of the right leg. And then if you want to, you can look over towards the right here. Just doing whatever feels comfortable. It's quite a deep position if you've chosen to bind. Just try to breathe. And then slowly coming back towards centre, towards our Shavasana, our final pose of rest. So just letting the arms come out towards the sides, keeping the shoulders broad, relaxing the muscles in the face, giving the fingers and the toes a little wiggle. Just taking a moment to rest here, just absorbing the practice, just enjoying a quiet moment, perhaps listening to your favourite relaxing song just for a few moments before we go back to our day. So if you do have time, please do stay here for a couple more minutes. If you've got a busy day ahead, just giving the fingers and the toes a little wiggle, drawing life back into the body. Taking a moment, rolling over to the one side, resting there. And when you're ready, just pressing your way back towards seated. Tucking the legs underneath you. Rocking left and right, finding a nice neutral position. Drawing the shoulders up, back and down. Taking the hands to prayer, nice deep inhale, lifting the chest. And exhaling, bowing the head. Namaste.